That led to the foundation of OBE Power. We kind of redefined the business model and created what we call today electric vehicle charging as a service.
Alejandro Burgana, welcome.
Thank you.
So we're going to talk all about the EV revolution and your role in it as the co-founder of OBE Power, which of course is based right here in Miami.
That's
but
right.
Before we do that, I want to talk a little bit about your journey, and namely that you were actually among the first people in Miami to own an electric vehicle. Tell us about that.
Well, prior to that event, I was already trying to connect the dots about the reduction of carbon footprint. What can we do about it? It's not only about reducing in our lifestyle, but at some point I decided to make it part of my business, to create a business solution that will revolve around that. The opportunity came after I lost my regular conventional gas mobile after a very heavy storm that caused a flooding event in Miami. Well, in one of those events, I was driving home with my family over the foot of water for like 2-3 miles. We managed to get home, but at that point, just when we hit the ramp, the vehicle died. So I was like, well, maybe time for a new car on one side, and then on the other side, time to maybe try something different.
Yeah.
Something that doesn't pollute, that doesn't have greenhouse gases emissions. The wait list period was for 6-7 months to get a vehicle at that time, and the manager of the store called me and said, there is this opportunity, but you need to make the decision like before tomorrow. I said,
I'll make the decision right now.
I already made the decision. I got the vehicle. It happens to be the second one. It wasn't even available for sale in Miami. So that vehicle was our first experience driving electric. The moment I felt the torque, the silence, the power, the convenience to drive, I realized that electric vehicle, that technology will actually change the way we move from A to B, the way the whole transportation sector will be changed and revolutionized just by that.
So a little over 10 years ago, you're now the co-founder of OBE Power. Tell us about what OBE Power does, when you launched it, and how sort of each one of us experience it in our lives today.
Sure. OBE Power, we are still dedicated to accelerate the transition to electric, clean, and efficient e-mobility. So there are many ways you can do that. We started selling charging stations, trying to sell the project, the solution to some of the local corporations, office buildings. In 2014, we started trying to sell, but we were trying to sell chargers before electric vehicles were here.
Right.
So everybody was, inviting us to do our sales pitch because that was quite interesting. People wanted to know about the future, but for us, we were trying to make a present. We were trying to make a living out of that. Yeah. So that story about, tell me about the future wasn't paying the bills. Right. So we decided, well, maybe there is a different way. So we went back to the whiteboard trying to design a new business model. That led to the foundation of OBE Power. We were no longer selling charging solutions. We decided, well, if people are not ready to buy them, why don't we invest in the properties where we anticipate good levels of demand and utilization for charging services? So we kind of redefined the business model and created what we call today electric vehicle charging as a service. And
electric vehicle charging as a service.
That is correct.
What's that?
What we do is we are not selling hardware, we are not selling software. That is what the vast majority of the companies in this industry are doing today. Every time we identify the property that is suitable for a good demand levels for charging, we approach them, and once they are ready to adopt the solution, they are pretty much calling every company in the industry trying to get their ideas, and then at that point we get and say, how about if we take care of everything? We take care of your demand, we will do it at no cost to you. Forget about the permitting, the installation, forget about pulling the power and the entire electrical make-ready project. Forget about trying to choose this or that brand of chargers. We only work with best-in-class in the industry. We also develop our own software that integrates our platform technology, that integrates the best-in-class hardware from different brands, regardless of whether they are OCPP or OCPI.
So let me, if I can, take a shot at trying to explain it. So, for example, if I am a condo owner, and I want to have some charging stations in my garage, call you and you can make it all happen.
Yes.
Or if I'm a municipality and I want to have a place to charge up my EV government vehicles, call you, you make it happen.
That is correct. And not
right?
only that we can make it happen, we do, but also we do it at no upfront cost and zero operational cost. We take care of the electricity cost, the maintenance, the operations, the management of the solution, and we do that always having as a priority the best user experience for the drivers.
What are the particular use cases? Office buildings, governments, apartments, what are the places?
Where the vast majority of the charging activity happens is where people live. And so we are serving multifamily condominiums, rental communities. That is where, by far, with all the charging, I could say, the great majority of the charging activity happens today. So we try to focus our attention on that, because if we are doing it at no cost, that means that, and we are assuming not only the financial burden and the risk of utilization, we have to deploy charging stations in a very smart way. So we need to make sure that our deployment strategy is actually being followed by real people actually connecting and plugging into our charging stations. So we need to define the great locations, what will be a convenient location inside what is considered a building that qualifies, because it makes a huge difference whether you deploy the charging stations like next to the elevator or at the very last corner of the parking garage where nobody wants to go, particularly if it is open or rainy or hot or humid like it is always in Miami. That convenience factor plays a very important role of people actually feeling motivated to park and connect at those locations. And so since we are assuming that financial risk, we need to make sure that people actually utilize it. Otherwise, our partners, our investors will never back our business model. If you do it right, you can create a very profitable, sustainable, and scalable business model, to the point that just by paying too much attention into trying to understand the behavior and the charging patterns of those who drive electric, trying to understand where they would like to charge, when, at what time of the day they are connected, for how long, where exactly, how many days a week. When you get a full understanding on all of that, and you adapt your deployment strategy and your release of resources based on that data, then you can get great levels of utilization. In fact, our average utilization today is twice as high as the average in the industry.
Talk about how big the scale has been to date in terms of the places that you are across Miami, and then the cities and states that you're in elsewhere around the country.
I think I mentioned we started in 2017, one customer at a time, in a very segmented way and granular way, to pretty much knocking doors and going after what we thought at the time was a good location. But we were lucky to land good customers. We land first like Carnival Cruise Line, the headquarters. And then after that, well, it seems like we're getting good utilization there. Let's go to Royal Caribbean. And from that, let's go to Miami Parking Authority. And then we have Miami Parkings. Why don't we talk to the county? And so one thing led to another. And so we managed to get good customers since day one. Those customers allow us to get credibility. And from that, we elevated to regional managers or to corporations or to national accounts. While we were doing that, the opportunity and the capital came later, but the opportunity to get to other markets came. So we started in our immediate area of influence, which is Southeast Florida, here in Miami. Yeah. We're a Miami local company. Yeah. And this is the kind of customers where we started, because we also wanted to make a statement here. Miami is perhaps one of the coastal cities that is most exposed to, the menace of sea level rise and storms and all of that. So that's why it is important that as Miamians, we are also trying to minimize our carbon footprint from transportation. And that's how now we are working in Fort Worth, Texas. We're working in New Orleans, Louisiana. We're waiting to hear from other cities in Ohio as well. So
Texas, Louisiana,
Georgia, and Florida. That's Georgia, where we are
Florida.
Today.
Those are the 4 states you're in. And
yes.
Now you're trying to expand to Ohio.
And by the end of the year, we expect to be in 4 more states.
Got it. And so your differentiator in this rapidly growing market is you identify property owners to install your systems with Are others doing that?
Funny, it's funny that you ask, because when we started, the common conception and impression that people got from our business is like, you guys are crazy. You're wasting your time, your money. How long it takes for you to get the payback period? At the time when we started, it was like 9-10 years. It's like, why are you doing that? You're wasting your resources and your time trying to do it. But reality is that we knew at the time, or we had a sense. If we didn't have a sense, we have a lot of faith that at some point, with enough critical mass, with more people driving electric, at some point the payback period will go from 10 to 8, from 8 to 6, from 6 to 4, and now it is anywhere between 3 and 4 years. Why? Because of having learned some hard lessons about deployment strategy and trying to deploy the exact amount of chargers at the right locations. So that's how you actually generate income based on utilization. Sure. Then there are other avenues to collect additional revenue sources, such as branding and advertising, or subscription in some cases. So when you combine all of that, and then you start offering services to fleets or municipalities, and now are in a very advanced process to convert their fleets to electric. So, and that's perhaps the next wave of services that are coming to make sure that we reach serious levels of growth and expansion. To complement like where all of this is going, when we started, it was incredibly small, to a point that we were doing perhaps 100 charging sessions a month. Now we do 3 times that a day. And, wow. and so it's a huge ramp up. And we see that figure growing like 10% every month.
As we think about the Miami of 2030, even the Miami of 2040, today we still see lots of gas stations, around Miami. Is your thesis that those will all essentially go away as we think about the end of the decade or the end of 2040?
Well, I hope that some of them go away. Yeah. Because they offer no contribution to our, the design and the benefit of our cities. Nobody wants to be living or sitting next to a gas station. There is so much pollution associated to that. But also, these are very exciting times. I mean, working with the county and the city of Miami right now, they are, heavily investing their resources into making sure that we are getting public transportation. We are, shifting cars away from the city, that we are, trying to convert their own fleets to electric. When you combine all of that and you're trying to foresee what's going to happen after 2030, I will see a cleaner city with better traffic and transit systems. We get to see a more silent city with less pollution. And of course, that will be like a model for other cities to follow.
It is fair to say that the future you imagine, the future that you're actively working to build right now, is one where people aren't making generally and through their days stops to refuel, recharge their car. That it would be happening while you're asleep overnight, while you're at the office, while you're doing grocery shopping.
The reality is that going to the gas station to fuel your vehicle is actually an inconvenience. The reality is that you don't need to do that at all. Actually, you can charge while you are working, sleeping, playing tennis, watching a movie, when you are living your life. Because your vehicle, which spends 80% of the lifetime parked on a parking garage, can also get charged while it is parked and while you are living your life. You will never have to do that, because where you go, chances are in the near future that you will find charging stations at destination. So you can always park, and while you get there and we do this interview, my car is charging right now.
What are things here in Miami that we can be doing to make Miami as a community, greater Miami, Miami-Dade County, as a leader in the transition to EVs for our entire community?
Well, education is a good factor. This conversation, this interview is actually a great contributor to that, because we are making people, you are helping us spread out the news, spread out the information, the good information about it. It is important to remove all the misconceptions about driving electric. One of them is that electric vehicles are more expensive. They are not anymore. Now you can buy an electric vehicle with a range of between 200 and 300 miles per charge at a very reasonable price. Then, of course, we get the support from corporations, we get the support from the municipalities, the county, the city. Every city in Southeast Florida that is actually adopting these kind of norms and ordinances also
like
to promote that.
New developments having
For
EV
example,
charging.
universities, we are working with DOVA, and they have a very aggressive plans to do that. And at the same time, the more convenient we make it, we are making our cities much more livable and much more enjoyable. And I will ask you the question. I don't want to put you in the spot, but
sure.
There is a tendency of people overstating the amount of gas stations. Do you have any idea how many gas stations are in the country?
In the country?
Yes, in the United States.
Oh my gosh. I have no idea, but it feels like there's not a shortage right now.
Well, people will think, oh, millions. The real answer is anywhere between 120 and 140,000. And that number has been the same for the last 15, 20 years.
Wow.
Now, do you know how many charging stations you can find in the
How
country?
many? How many? This is
it's close to 100,000. And it's growing 30 to 40% year over year.
So over the next year or two, we'll have more charging stations than
gas stations. Of course, the gas stations, the average has like 6 fuel pumps. And I'm talking about a connector, a public charger. But hey, that figure, like more charging stations than gas stations, is a very important figure. You will see that in the headlines soon, in the next 2-3 years. And then after that, with the industry growing at 30-40% annually, you will see that it will take only 3 more years to have more electric connectors or charging stations than fuel pumps. It is going to happen within this decade, before 2030.
Alejandro Burgana, thank you very much.
Thank you, Matt.
Appreciate it.
Thank you for the time and the opportunity.